Hello, and welcome to Replay Value. I talked about Kariya's introduction about 2 weeks ago, which quickly evolved into me rewatching the entirety of Fate Zero's pilot episode. And perhaps surprisingly, the introduction that stuck with me the most, even more than Kariya's, was Kariya's. It's short, he's definitely the master that gets sidelined the most, which narratively makes sense in the context of the show, as unfortunate as that may be. But his introduction, in my opinion, is by far the strongest, and not just because of how it thematically plays off of Kariya's introduction, but how the direction, both visual and audio, create and utilize space. So for context, Kariya's introduction is what prefaces this scene. If you haven't watched my video talking about the direction of that sequence, the important takeaway as far as this scene is concerned is that Kariya has been forced into participating in the Holy Grail War as a passive player in Tosaka's strategy for victory. As he walks away, Kariya is trying to find meaning in his existence and in his inclusion in the ceremony. Kariya's introduction is more or less the exact opposite, as it explains his decision to actively join the Holy Grail War and gives him a why for that choice. The establishing shot places us in Fuyuki City a year ago, giving us another time jump. It's a park, we can hear kids playing, and as Kariya gets Aoi's attention, we quickly establish that Kariya has been traveling for a while. This shot serves a lot of purposes over the course of this sequence, but for right now its main purpose seems to be for allowing Rin to enter the scene, which also tells us that Kariya couldn't have been traveling for that long, since Rin recognizes him and feels comfortable running right up to him. From Rin's point of view, we have this solid composition where Aoi occupies the bottom right of the frame, while Kariya is a pillar through 3/4 of the center left. This helps him draw focus and gives our eyes plenty of movement between the two. And that's followed by center fill, center empty in subsequent shots to keep using space dynamically. As we establish that Sakura is gone through Rin's off-screen dialogue, we then hear her walk off, which allows us to focus our attention back on Kariya's shock as he turns to Aoi. And this sequence of left, right, center is then mirrored on the back end of Kariya's shock, leading him to looking down on us from Aoi's point of view, which suggests that they're not on the same level and is cemented by the dialogue between them. When we return to the wide shot, it becomes clear how small they are in this larger discussion of mages, neither of them able to do anything about Sakura being adopted by the Matau family. And the pillar which separates Aoi and Kariya reinforces how there's a barrier between them. After gripping Sakura's present in his left hand, it's then hidden by Aoi in the following shot, with them in the bottom right, Kariya having decided what he's going to do right then and there. Our next sequence is in the Matau Manor. The doors slam open, resetting our audio channels from the park sequence, bringing in this eerie drum and howl sound in addition to what I would consider the best design decision of the entire episode. Multiple clocks ticking slightly out of sync. There's almost no silence in the sequence, so it's hard to passively notice, but if you actively try and note the ticks, they're asymmetrical. Not only does the passing of time have a pressing thematic value, which we'll cover in a moment, these out-of-time ticks achieve this intense feeling of discomfort. We as a species like rhythm to be constant, so for it to be varying in how it's inconsistent compared to the same type of inconsistency gives the audio an authentic quality. It places you in the position of Kariya or Sakura. You don't want to be there. The very air itself feels oppressive with these sounds playing, and it keeps you on your toes because it's impossible to be comfortable in a spot like this. Which is especially good, because it's at complete odds with what we see on the surface. This house doesn't look scary. It's well lit even. The audio just suggests something ugly underneath, which as we see is eerily accurate. Visually, this scene plays out pretty straightforward. The wide shot is used to convey the distance between the two through the window panels and keeps the eye moving back and forth. The contrast between orange light inside and dark blue shadows on the outside highlight what's happening indoors. As Zoken is explaining his plan and how he's moved on without Kariya, Zoken takes this opportunity to literally walk past Kariya. Kariya doesn't turn around to face his father. He keeps looking ahead, either out of disgust or because his focus is on his end goal. Zokin's walk back, by the way, is even more out of sync with the clocks, which is honestly the most horrifying thing in the audio, including the worms that show up in a minute. And then this shot with the clocks show visually exactly what I was talking about in the audio. They're out of sync. And the clocks themselves are good motif markers in that they represent time, which is relevant in this case because Kariya doesn't have enough time to become a proper master, and the time to save Sakura entirely has passed because, well... As for the ending of the sequence, it's just finishing up what we already know is going to happen from the setup. It's the dark underbelly that has been subtly suggested by the audio in the previous shots, and Kariya is going to actively join the war as to save Sakura from her horrible fate. Kariya's introduction is a great example of how sound design can be used to compress a space, even as the visuals build as much room as possible. And who knows what I'll be talking about next from Fate Zero, but at least for a while, I need a break from the opening 20 minutes. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and comment with your thoughts, subscribe for more analysis pieces, and follow me on Twitter for updates about future projects, link in the description. We'll be back real soon with another video, but until then, thanks for watching.